Now, we've got recording levels right, okay. The Tube Pigeon, a story from It's a Rum Life, Book 4, Northcote, 1994 to 2008. I think before writing this piece, the only other person I have mentioned this extraordinary story to is my sister. She told me categorically that if I wrote the piece, folk would think me totally off my rocker. I related this story to my wife Ruth on my return from that memorable day, and she did not turn a hair. So here goes. The story is quite true. The actual day was sometime in the November of, I believe, 2003. I had been honorary national chairman of the National Farm Attractions Network for several years and enjoyed the chance to meet other folk from various parts of the UK who were engaged in opening their properties to the public as we were doing at Northcote. Barry Davis, a surveyor and rural planning consultant from Kettering, was our secretary. And hardly a week went by when we were not engaged together in some issue or other of concern to our national membership. On the actual day of the story, I was travelling to the Earl's Court Exhibition Centre in London to assist on the National Farm Attractions Network stand at the National Trades Fair. My aim had been to arrive in good time to help set up the stand before the centre opened to visitors at 10 a.m. As usual, I had to travel half the distance from home by car before I could board a train at Peterborough at about 6:30 a.m. By 7:45 I was entering the underground station at King's Cross, well on time to arrive at Earl's Court by my target time of 8:30. Then things went awry. It could have been my lack of concentration, or just the fact that I had visited the capital so often in the past, I thought I knew my way around the underground perfectly. I bought a ticket for Earl's Court and boarded a train that looked as if it was going in the correct direction. West was good, and I was casually watching those unique long thin maps above the windows opposite, counting off the stations as we passed. There were only 3 more stations to go when suddenly the train turned off and headed away from my desired route. I studied the map more intently and realised we were heading for a dead end. My best laid plans were in tatters, and I was not going to get to my destination in time. The train duly stopped at the buffers, by which time I was the only occupant. A ticket collector was manning the barrier, awaiting the first customers of the day, and quickly explained that the train I needed for Earl's Court was on the adjoining platform and would be leaving in just a few minutes. I found the train, and it was clearly marked Earl's Court on its marker board. All the carriages were completely empty. It was just as if I was the only human on the planet. This made me rather uneasy and sapped my confidence somewhat. I entered a door in the centre carriage. This train had forward-facing seats, very much like a bus, and totally different to normal tube trains. I chose a seat 3 down from the doors and on the opposite side of the train, facing the direction we should be going to travel. I waited and waited, perhaps for 10 minutes. No other passengers came to join me in any of the carriages, and when the whole train began to tremble, as obviously the driver had arrived and activated the train systems. We were going to move shortly. Quite suddenly, and to my absolute surprise, through the same door as I had used, which was still open, a pigeon walked off the platform and into my carriage. As you probably know, some birds hop and some walk on the ground. I distinctly remember this pigeon walking. It came into the centre of the carriage, looked up and down, then chose the first seat in the row in front of me, quickly flew up and perched on the handrail on top of the seat back. The pigeon was happily perched on the seat rail facing forwards, in the direction the train should be going. I suppose my mouth gaped open. First thoughts were to find an attendant and ensure the train did not start with a distressed pigeon fluttering about in the carriage. It was then I realised that the bird was not distressed at all. It behaved just like any normal commuter, the only difference being I was the only human in the carriage and the pigeon my only companion. The doors closed with their usual swish and gasp of air, and the train moved out of the station. As we gathered speed and smoothly twisted and turned on our journey, my companion remained on his chosen perch, and simply leaned left and right as the curves came and went. It was a commuter, and had quite obviously done this all before. Still not believing my eyes, glued on the seat just 6 feet in front, it came as no surprise when we stopped at the next 2 stations, doors opening and subsequently closing, and the pigeon resolutely remained on the seat of his choice. The pigeon obviously knew where he wanted to be, and was clearly watching through the windows as everything passed. Earl's Court Station was the next stop, and as the doors opened, my friend hopped down from his seat and walked out of the door. I was still so astonished I almost forgot this was my stop too, and only managed to get off the train before it was once more on its way. I think the most astounding thing about the whole episode was not that the bird had actually chosen his seat, perched on the seat back, facing the direction he was going, and swayed with the train motion. That all seemed so natural after the bird actually walked on board. Everywhere you see birds, they're normally flying. In and out, here and there, they fly. This bird never flew that I saw at all, except to get on and off his seat of his choice. It actually walked on board from the platform, and then when it arrived at its chosen destination, it walked off again onto the platform and disappeared. As I've been writing this story, all the time I've wanted to write he or even she. But of course, we did not actually have a conversation. Few Londoners do they? We hope you have enjoyed this story from It's a Rum Life, Book 4. You'll find more information about ebooks and audiobooks from Keith Sanders, the Storyman, on his website www.crackerbooks.com. Thank you for listening.